Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. I welcome you all to today's daily quiz. Before we begin, just a reminder, as you know, BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS is now on Telegram. Do join in using the link given in the description of the video to get all the latest current affairs updates for the UPSC examination. Now let's begin with question number 1 on your screen. Consider the following statements with regards to the world waters. Number 1. There is no international treaty focusing on protecting the ocean health. Second, the UN clause, that is a UN Convention on the Law of Sea, led to the establishment of territorial sea boundaries 22 kilometers offshore. Third, a high ambition coalition consisting of over 100 nations, including India and the US, came about and put the focus on 30 into 30 goals, protecting 30% of the ocean by 2030. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here is D. All the three given statements are correct. I thought it was a pretty easy question to answer. You might have had certain confusion in statement number 2 because usually you read this distance in terms of nautical miles. So it is 12 nautical miles, which is almost the same as 22 kilometers. The reason why we are asking this question is because nations across the world, about 168 of them, have been negotiating to sign a treaty called the UN High Seas Treaty. The objective was that beyond the exclusive economic zone of the nations, the sea that belongs to the entire world, how to regulate that, how to use that, how to conserve marine life in the high sea, which is outside jurisdiction of any of the nations. However, the sad part is that the treaty has fell apart and it has not been finalized. It is also referred to as a Paris Agreement for the ocean, but the nations could not come at one single conclusion for the treaty. Next, question number 2. Consider the following statements with regards to exploration of the universe. Number 1. With the Artemis program, NASA aims to land humans on the moon by 2024, and it also plans to land the first women and the first person of color on the moon. Second, Artemis 1 is an uncrewed space mission where the spacecraft will launch on SLS, that is the Space Launch System, the most powerful rocket in the world. Third, in 1959, NASA's uncrewed Luna 1 and 2 became the first rover to visit the moon. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here would be A. While first and the second statements are correct, the third statement is wrong because this is actually USSR. USSR became the first nation to send rovers on the moon called Luna 1 and Luna 2. It was an uncrewed mission, and that is how they became the first nation to do that. First and the second are correct. NASA in the past decade or so has been working on a program for exploration of moon even further. It's a highly complex program called Artemis, which will have multiple stages. The reason why it is in the news is that the launch of the first part, that is Artemis 1, has been delayed due to certain problems in the flow of the liquid hydrogen in one of the engines of the rocket. This article tells you a lot of details about NASA's exploration of moon and other places in the universe. It has been 50 years since the 6 Apollo human landings were conducted by NASA between 1969 and 1972. Since then, NASA has not really had much of an interest in the moon till 2011 when they started working on the Artemis mission. Artemis 1, whose launch was delayed, is actually being seen as a first step of this mission. This will be an uncrewed mission in the first stage. It will go there, it will land on the moon. It will lay the foundation for more complex and ambitious missions. It has with itself various payloads in the form of small satellites called the CubeSats, which are equipped with instruments which will undertake a lot of investigations on the surface of the moon. In fact, one of these CubeSats will search for water in all its form, while the other will map the availability of hydrogen as a source of energy on the moon. It will also have the Orion spacecraft, which is designed to carry the astronauts into deep space on future missions. This Orion spacecraft will have 3 dummy passengers which are made like mannequins, but they are made in such a form that the human body is actually made. Next, question number 3. Consider the following statements with regards to nuclear weapons. Number 1. The parties to the NPT, which came into force in 1970, undertake a review of the treaty's implementation every 5 years. Second, India is not a signatory to the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty called the CTBT. Third, India is a signatory to the Partial Test Ban Treaty. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here is D. NPT, which India is not a member of, has amongst its provisions that the treaty will be reviewed every 5 years. So the last time it was reviewed was in 2020. India, as you know, is not a part of the CTBT. CTBT is a treaty that says that no nuclear tests will be conducted anywhere. And then the third, partial test ban treaty, India is a member of this. So partial test ban treaty says that the nuclear test cannot be conducted in space, cannot be conducted in ocean, basically anywhere where the impact of the test will go beyond the boundaries of that country. Those tests cannot be conducted. This is called the partial test ban treaty. So you can conduct the test on ground, making sure that the consequences of the test are not felt anywhere outside that particular country. India has signed this particular treaty. So all these given statements about the nuclear technology are correct. The reason why we're asking this question is because of this editorial in the Indian Express, which is written by Mr. C. Rajamohan, a very, very famous author who writes about the international relations and diplomacy. He talks about the return of nuclear weapons with respect to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, where Russia, time and time again, has been threatening that they may use nuclear weapons if their own sovereignty is in danger. Next, question number 4. Consider the following statements with regards to the scheme for economic empowerment of DNTs for the welfare of denotified, nomadic and semi-nomadic communities. Number 1. The term denotified tribes stands for all those communities which were once notified under the Criminal Tribes Act enforced by the British Raj between 1871 and 1947. Second, the major components of this scheme include free coaching to students from these communities for civil services, entry to professional courses like medicine, engineering, MBA, etc. Third, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment decided in February 2014 to constitute a National Commission for Denotified, Nomadic and Semi-Nomadic Tribes for 3 years. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here is D. All the 3 given statements with regards to the seed scheme are absolutely correct. This is especially for those tribes which the British unfortunately labelled as criminal tribes, saying that their official profession has just been to conduct crime and nothing else. However, after independence, the government of India has been making multiple efforts to improve the working and living of these particular tribes. The reason why we're asking this question is because of this news in the Indian Express, which says that the tribe categorization work is delaying the benefits that have to be given to the DNTs, that is the denotified nomadic tribes, under the seed scheme. More than 10 crore Indians across the country actually belong to this group and they deserve a lot of benefit from the government funds, but they have not been getting it because of the delay in categorization, that is identifying which people actually belong to these particular category or not. This scheme would be implemented through an online portal which will issue a unique ID card to each applicant to apply and to track the status of their application that they have applied to the government for. Next, question number 5 is a previous year question from 2011. Recently, Oilzapper was in the news. What is it? It is an eco-friendly technology for remediation of oily sludge and oil spills. Second, it is the latest technology developed for undersea oil exploration. Third, it is a genetically engineered high biofuel yielding maize variety. Or fourth, it is the latest technology to control accidentally caused flames from oil wells. Oilzapper has been in the news not just in 2011 but years after that as well. Oilzapper is actually a combination of multiple bacteria which is used specifically to curtail oil spills. So oil containers, those ships who contain a lot of oil, if they are damaged in the ocean and the oil actually spills, there is a danger of harming the marine life and the people living nearby that area massively. To get rid of that oil spill, we use this Oilzapper. This Oilzapper, as I said, is a combination of multiple bacteria and they actually decompose these hydrocarbons in such a way that they then convert into water and CO2 only. That is why the Oilzappers have been in the news. Next, we have a fact of the day, and today we'll be discussing about the 5G architecture. This is in the news because recently Jio Telecom, that is India's largest telecom company, announced the launch of its 5G services in major cities across the country, Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata and Chennai by this Diwali. and they said they will cover the entire country by 5G by December 2023. As you know, the 5G spectrum auctions were recently concluded by the government of India. Now, 5G mainly will be deployed in two stages or two modes: standalone and non-standalone. Each of these modes has its own advantage and disadvantage. For example, the standalone mode that we have, in this, the 5G network operates on their own dedicated network and equipment. They will not share any network with the other previous networks like 4G, etc. This 5G network will not use any of the equipments of the 4G. Non-standalone, on the other hand, is that 5G network that will be supported by the 4G core infrastructure without using any of its own new infrastructure as such. The key differences are that in the standalone mode, the 5G will show its full capability, and it will allow greater flexibility to the operators, and it will allow greater spectrum sharing. The non-standalone mode will be the one where the 5G networks, as I said, will be rolled out using the existing infrastructure as such. That means that the speed might not be as much as you would expect from the standalone 5G. As you know, the main difference between 5G and the technologies that existed before that was the concept of latency. Because of increased speed, 5G will offer much lower latency, so much more efficiency in the transfer of signals and much better applications, including the smart cars, including AI and other types of applications. Also, in India specifically, the number of 5G smartphones have been increasing. If you now go online on Amazon, Flipkart, etc., the phone that you're buying, usually you get an option to buy 5G version of that phone as well, which is slightly more expensive. This article says that by the end of this year, we might have 35% of phones in India that are actually 5G capable. These phones usually cost between 20,000 to 30,000 rupees. Now do keep this in mind for a usual retail user like you and me, where most of our applications are about browsing data, we might not see a lot of difference between 4G and 5G. This technology is mainly important for those who are undertaking new technology and their applications. 5G, as I said, would offer much superior internet speeds, much lower latency. The speed under 5G could easily touch 10 Gbps as compared to the 100 Mbps speed that was actually offered by 4G. But one thing is certain, with the introduction of 5G, you may have to shell out more money as compared to what you had to do earlier for the earlier data plans. This is it for today's daily quiz video. Thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel of Byjus IAS if you have not done so till now. Have a good day.